Okay, how about you?
What was your favorite episode that you were in?
My favorite episode that I was in of Power Rangers?
Yes.
You know,
The birthday episode?
the birthday episode was definitely fun. I think I really enjoyed the episode where I got to kiss Angela. I thought she was really fun. I was like, that girl is fun. Woo. Okay. I enjoyed the food fight episode because that was, I mean, who doesn't love to have like an all-out food fight? And then that day, when we filmed all day, it was like, okay, the food fight was the very last thing we were going to shoot because they knew everything would be a mess. Costumes were going to be a mess. The, you know, camera equipment, the whole room was just going to be demolished. And so it's the end of the day, and it's time for the food fight, and it was all out. I mean, like, not only we did the scene, and we're throwing food at each other, you know, we're just taking all kinds of stuff, just giving everybody, right? And, you know, catching it on camera. But then after they said cut, we went after all of the camera operators and everybody else. Like, nobody was fair game. We took everybody down. We're like, food fight! Just like going after everybody, and it was so fun. I mean, to just, one of the really cool things about acting is you find yourself in places doing things that you would never, ever do. like on the show, when I was working on the show, my final day on the show, I'm dead in an alley with 6 gunshots to my chest, which was kind of a sad day. But I'm laying in the alley. I'm like in this grungy, nasty alley somewhere in, I don't know, this ugly, nasty part of LA, and I am laying smack dab in the alley, just chilling, and people are walking around me, and I'm like, I would never, ever be here. Ever. Ever. I would never lay down right here in this alley. But right now, I'm doing it, and I'm cool, and I'm getting paid. So, all right, there we go, you know. But it's interesting, just perspective. I mean, when you look through your eyes at the world, in different places, you see different things. So if you lay down on the floor in here, you look up at the ceiling, you're like, that is a cool ceiling. Look at that. I never noticed the mirrors up there. It's just different perspective, you know what I'm saying? So laying down in the alley in the middle of the ghetto somewhere is a whole different perspective, and that's part of the adventure I love about acting. Yes?
What was your favorite production working?
My favorite production to work with?
Yeah. Or in?
Question, good question. Let me think. I would probably say, I would probably say Moesha, the Brandy show. Just because that was such a family, they've been together for so long, and everybody was very welcoming, and it was very professional. It was so laid back. Brandy's singing, her brother AJ's singing. We were rappers on the show. It was just, I was at home. It was like I was on the set and just chilling, and you know, like, here we go, let's shoot. And everybody was just really laid back and fun, and production, you know, they paid me well. I like that part. And you know, so that maybe Moesha, I would say. I've had a lot of great working experiences, but Moesha definitely was fun. I actually did a film, one of the worst ones. I did a film in Romania, and I almost got killed. It was crazy. You know, Romania is a third world country, and it's recently it was a communist country for a long time. So I'm there, and I like to go out and see places. I like to be in the middle of everything. I want to experience wherever I go. I live off of experiences. So I'm in Romania, and I want to see Romania. I want to get out, and get among the people, and hang out, and whatever. So I decided I want to go to this bar, and I have a liaison. He's taking me around, me and one of my co-stars, and he's like, well, look, if they try to sell you cocaine or guns in the club, you know, don't worry, that's just what they do here. And I was like, they sell guns in the club? He's like, yeah. It's kind of a mafia-run place. It's third world and communist. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's go. Let's go for it. So we go to this club, and And we're hanging out, and it was a little odd. I don't think they were very accustomed to seeing too many brothers over there. And we get in the club, and we're hanging out, and you know, I ask a couple of girls to dance, and they all tell me no. I'm a little depressed about that. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and have a drink, so I have a beer or something. And my co-star, this guy, is on the dance floor dancing, and his name is Jason Adelman, and I look at him, and he's got a red dot on his chest, and I'm like, somebody's messing with him, you know. And I look down, and I get his attention. I'm like, look, and he sees it, and he starts freaking out. He's like, oh God, we gotta get out of here, dude. We gotta get out of here. And I'm like, nah, man, you know, somebody's just messing with you. They got a little laser. They're just, you know, messing with you, whatever. And our liaison says hello to this guy that's sitting maybe a couple tables away from me, and they start speaking in Romanian, and next thing you know, they're arguing. And the guy comes over, he's like, we gotta go. I'm like, oh really? Okay, let's go then, you know. And it was just a very odd thing, and that was the beginning of a very weird adventure in Romania. I had another experience where I went to another place, and some guy was just tripping. He looked at me right away and just started going off, and I was like, I tried to get away from him, and next thing you know, I was trying to leave, and I needed a taxi cab, and the guy volunteered, hey, you need a cab driver? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm walking out with him, and there's 3 guys sitting outside, and we're in Romania, so everybody speaks Romanian. And I'm walking outside, and one of the 3 guys turns around and sees me, and sees the guy I'm walking with, and he starts talking to the guy in Romanian, and next thing you know, they're arguing. Like, what is going on? Everybody's arguing in this place, right? So one of the 3 guys looks at me and goes, hey, you need a ride home? You need a taxi cab driver? And I was like, oh, well, I got this guy, you know, he volunteered. He's like, don't go with him. He's with those guys. And I was like, I looked at the guy, and he went, like, oh, who are you going to believe? And I was like, I'm going with him. So I ended up going with that guy, one of the 3 guys. He was the cab driver, took me back to my place, got back safely, but what would have happened if I had gotten in that taxi cab with that guy? You know, the guy that was with the other guy inside that was going off, you know, I would have had to morph. Like, Jordan, get me out of here. It's morphin' time. Is this thing working? Oh my God, yeah. But anyway, interesting. So that was one of the worst productions I worked on, because it was cold, and it was shot in like a mock castle that had no heat in it. I had to take off my shirt and be, you know, like have my chest all out, and then have my heart ripped out. It was a horror movie called The Talisman I did, and yeah, I don't want to go there again. Yes.
It was cold in Romania?
Cold. It was colder than yeah. I did meet somebody there on the set who was a guy very interesting, because you realize, you know, when you realize when you're in a different country how good you have it here. There was a kid there that was working as an extra on the set, and he was a really nice guy named Vlad Dulia. Actually became a really good friend of mine. And every day I would go to set, I see him, and he was like, hey, Walter, and he was making like $60 a day. But for him, that was like a month's check. So he was like the time I went back, and he was like, I saw him like a couple of days later, he was like, hey, like my jeans? I was like, yeah, that was cool. He's like, this is the first pair of jeans I bought in like 5 years. Because he never had the money. He got to pay all his bills, he got to pay, you know, whatever, and he's living with his mom and his girlfriend and his mom's boyfriend in a small 1-bedroom studio, and it's a communist country, and he didn't, you know, it was like, wow. And I ended up hanging out with him and his girlfriend for the rest of the trip. He introduced me to all his friends. We went to saw museums. He took me to see Vlad Dracula's castle, and I got to really see Romania, understand the history, and I wasn't afraid of it anymore. You know, I met some really cool people, and it was a great experience. So that's all I have to say about that.